Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another Dissecting the Macabre episode. Today we're going to be talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street. Really quick though, before I get into that, I want to say a quick thank you to my creepy patron peeps for your support of my channel. Thank you so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a patron of mine, you can go to the link in the description box. Several people are hunted by a cruel serial killer who kills his victims in their dreams. While the survivors are trying to find the reason for being chosen, the murderer won't lose any chance to kill them as soon as they fall asleep. There were so many things to choose from when I was getting ready to talk about the production of A Nightmare on Elm Street. One thing I will say and highly recommend you watch is the documentary on the whole Nightmare on Elm Street franchise called Never Sleep Again. It is looking long. I think it's like 4 or 5 hours long. It's kind of like the Camp Crystal Lake one, just shorter because there's fewer films than Friday the 13th, but like it's the same in how it goes through each movie, and there's interviews from the actors and directors and things like that. It's really interesting to see how they did a lot of the effects. Was really cool, but there were like so many to choose from and talk about that I didn't really have time to mention them in the video. At least look up some cool stuff like how they did the bed scene, like with Johnny Depp with like blood coming out of there, and also how they did Tina's death. It was awesome. Basically they just like really just created this cube, which was like the room that they used, and it was able to like spin and move and things like that, and that's how they achieved a lot of the effects, which is awesome. But I always really loved the story about the influences that created A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's kind of a combination of things. The main kind of influences was a moment from Wes Craven's childhood where he was looking out the window and he saw this creepy man standing on the sidewalk, like looking right up at his window, and he had I think in Wes Craven's description he said he had like a trench coat and like a hat on, which is similar to the one that Freddy Krueger is wearing, hence the influence. That's part of it. And another main part is news stories that Wes Craven heard about a boy in Cambodia who died in his sleep. And the crazy part of the story that he read was the boy was afraid to go to sleep because he thought somebody was going to kill him, and eventually after he does unfortunately pass away in his sleep, a little bit violently, thrashing around a bit, I mean, they found like a coffee maker in his closet and things like that. Like, so it was like crazy, like he was really actively trying not to go to sleep, and that's a little bit like freaky, like why was he so afraid? And that was a big influence on the movie as well. This was also New Line Cinema first production that they actually first thing that they actually produced. Up until this point they were only a distributor. So after Craven had got a couple of rejections on his movie, New Line gave him a chance, and A Nightmare on Elm Street was born. I would say that that's probably like one of the single best decisions New Line Cinema ever made. On a themes and analysis, one of the things that most people point out, especially as the series goes on, is that Freddy Krueger really presents a kind of a sexualized threat as well as a violent threat. In Wes Craven's original script, Freddy Krueger was a child molester. Kind of got lost in the final product, but it's something that's like resurfaced throughout the series. So there's always kind of been that like perverted, sexualized threat from Freddy Krueger. The examples is when Freddy Krueger's claw is reaching up through the bathwater between Nancy's legs, little things like that. Another huge theme in the movie is also kind of like the threat and danger and isolation of being a teen. So like many slashers of this era, the parents, there is very little adult presence, or I should say very little useful adult presence. Parents in this movie, if they aren't absent, they're just inept. So they're either addicted to pills or alcoholics like Nancy's mother, or they're just not useful because they don't believe their kids like Nancy's father. Like You know, he seems like really the only adult around that, you know, has a good head on his shoulders, but he dismisses Nancy's claims a lot and really ends up hindering her more than helping her by like locking her away in her room where she can't help Glenn. I think it goes without saying that A Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty much an instant commercial success. Like, it absolutely blew up. A lot of the positive criticism talked about Craven kind of making a comeback from a string of maybe not so great works, saying he had a bit of like a dry spell between his great films like The Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, and then, you know, finally making a resurgence with A Nightmare on Elm Street. A lot of critics talked about the production of the movie and the effects, and as Freddy as a horror icon. It definitely goes without saying that Freddy Krueger is a household name. Like, again, which I've mentioned a lot of times before in these Dissecting the Macabre episodes, there are just some icons of horror like Freddy, like Jason, like Michael Myers, like Leatherface, that is like, you don't even have to watch horror movies and you know who they are. That's just how iconic they are, and that's kind of awesome. One thing that's really cool about Freddy, which I think is like just completely different from all of our other masked killers that I just mentioned, Robert Englund is just as much Freddy as anything. It is very clear that Englund is integral to Freddy, and that is because, you know, he is not a masked killer. We see his face. Yes, his face is disfigured, but we see his face, and unlike unlike his cohorts Jason, Michael, and Leatherface, he talks. So he definitely has a different presence about him than our other big slasher icons. And, you know, it's very clear that, you know, no Englund, no Freddy. It just doesn't work. I think that is made very much apparent by the most recent remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, where we had, what was that guy's name? Jackie Haley or something like that. I probably got that wrong. And it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. So if you don't own A Nightmare on Elm Street, you can watch it on Amazon Video. I'll leave an affiliate link in the description box if you want to watch it that way. If you use that link, it helps out the channel, but no pressure. Let me know in the comment section down below about the first time you saw Nightmare on Elm Street, and, you know, how it fits into your horror journey, if it does. As always, you can find me on all the normal social media places. The links for those are in the description box. You can find me on my blog at nightmaremaven.com, which obviously right on there right now is a continuation, you know, discussion, analysis of some of the themes of A Nightmare on Elm Street. So that's up there now. You can check that out if you want. The link for that is in the description. You can also find me on morbidlybeautiful.com as a contributing writer, and on their YouTube channel now too. You can also find me at patreon.com/nightmaremaven if you want to check that out and support the channel. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here, and become a creepy peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye.